seen the answer, no problem. He will give me the sharing provision after Dr. Deewan's talk. Ms. Navneet?
Yes, sir.
You will be giving me the sharing option after Deewan's talk. I have 8 or 10 PowerPoint slides.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. I will give you the access after Dr. Deewan.
Fine.
Dr. Somsekhar has come, joined.
Not yet. He will be joining.
Okay. It's 7:30 of Navneet Singh ji.
So welcome and thank you for being here today. I'm Navneet Singh, your host for this webinar. I know that today's topic will bring a number of questions from you. So you may type your questions in chat box, and I want to let you know that we will address as many as we can in the time we have today. And I request our National NP Webinar Coordinator, Dr. Somsekhar, to start this session. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and welcome everybody. I welcome Professor Deewan sir and Dr. Dev sir. This is something which is a very tough topic to cover, but an extremely important topic because it's very important to know that during this COVID time, the exams are divided into 3 parts. One is exclusively Osce, another exclusively practical based, and the other one is a hybrid. And in all probability, surgical onco is going to be a hybrid where a combination of Osce and case presentation both are going to be there. And who better than the most experienced surgical oncologist, teacher, and also an examiner? The way I'm planning this, surgical oncology DNB, NBE teaching program is all the people who come themselves are an examiners in this field, and they're also instrumental in being examiners, setting up theory paper, OSCE papers, and everything for NBE codes. So who know it better than that? So the way we have it here is about roughly 45 minutes. Professor Deewan sir will give a tips and tricks and how to approach this. Then Dr. SVS Dio for about 10 minutes will give his comments and tips and summary of it. Then last 10 minutes we'll take it as question and answer session. Even though the whole program is 60 minutes, 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes here and there we can spill over. I request Deewan sir and Dave to keep a watch on the chat box and question and answer box. That is the only way students can communicate. They cannot unmute or speak. And at the end of it, we'll hopefully answer everything. Thank you very much. Over to you, Professor Deewan sir.
Good morning, Dr. Navneet Singh, Dr. Somsekhar, Dr. Dev, all my friends, colleagues. Today I'll talk about some important topic, approach to DNP surgical oncology Osce practical exam, tips and tricks. You see, I will be covering what is Osce, what is the hybrid Osce which has been designed by NV, tips and tricks, and few examples of Osce, and one or two case scenarios, and then of course the last slide, important slide. When we conduct exam, conventionally, is quite subjective. One particular patient may be given to two students. There's a lot of subjective assessment by the examiners. Even if you are talking the same, maybe your communication is different. Marks may vary. You may reply in a different style. Your marks will vary. So there's a lot of subjectivity when we have the exam conducted in conventional. So here I'm going to talk about what is Osce. Osce is objective structured clinical examination. Objective means all the candidates are assessed using exactly the same standard stations. Stations means you can say questionnaire with the same marking scheme. And candidate gets marks for each mark scheme. You see, one question may be divided into 4 parts, 3 parts, and each part will have some percent, some marking. Number 2 is structure. All the stations have a specific task. Stations means questions, I am saying. And same information is shared with all the candidates. It is not that I will ask one question to one candidate, some different question to different candidate. So it will be same information shared with all the candidates. And these are all structured to include all elements of your curriculum. Most of it is practical. Any theoretical knowledge. Clinical examination applies clinical and theoretical knowledge, but mainly it is clinical knowledge. So it is quite precise, it is objective, and it is reproducible, allowing uniform testing of students for a wide range of clinical skills. But only drawback is your textbook scenario may not mimic a real life situation. When you are talking to a patient, your assessment may be a little different than when we are giving you a virtual situation. So this concept of Osce came, actually it originated in Singapore. That was the first country to test, diagnose and treat people infected with COVID in January 20. And WHO declared pandemic on 11th March, that is 2 months later. And Singapore declared DORSCON orange, that is disease outbreak response system condition, even before the WHO declared pandemic. And in early March 20, Duke's National University Singapore Medical School ensured that the final year students would complete their graduation and enter into medical workforce without any delay. So they anticipated all the problems of pandemic, and they wanted the students to clear their exam and join the medical workforce. So they were the ones to start with Osce and started with 25 stations with real and simulated patients. No gathering were allowed, There were 4 groups of students and 14 students in each group. Key principles of Osce in COVID were strict infection control practices, personal hygiene, face mask, hand sanitization, and your travel declaration, temperature screening, solitary lunches, no joint lunches, and then cohorting of students, say 12 or 14 students in one group, and social distancing, of course. Then Zoom facilitated briefings were given to the students as well as to the teachers. And real and simulated patients kept in separate rooms for the station all day. And no student could leave the exam in between. And all these senior doctors, faculty members, deans, etc., they participated in the program. And NB started Osce last year. And hats off to the brainchild of NB and the way they conducted successfully. I was really impressed. It was a versatile, multi-purpose evaluation tool of candidates, and there were 25 Osce stations. Osce stations, when I'm saying, I'm repeating, station means a questionnaire. Okay? And 25 stations were of 200 marks. This was conducted in the forenoon session, and one station was for 5 minutes, and each station was of 8 marks. So 25 into 8 means 200 marks. After every 7 Osce stations, means questions, you are given a break of 5 minutes. But the total marks for practical exam is 300, 200 for Osce, and 100 is practical exam for afternoon. Pass percentage is 50%, and this afternoon session of 100 marks, 30 marks for one case each. So you have 2 cases. It could be a real patient or a dummy patient or a volunteer or maybe a questionnaire similar to the Osce. Osce covers entire spectrum of your curriculum and assesses the core competencies and clinical skills. It is basically a hybrid exam, and there's no negative marking as you have in some of the other exams. So all these 25 stations are virtually run uniformly from NB Command Center in Delhi. So the examination centers separately, they don't run the questionnaire. So all these stations are actually run by NB Command Center using a secure and reliable video conferencing platform. NB Command Center monitors and assists the conduct of practical exam at all centers. You see, they can examine, see, and monitor all the examination centers. Forenoon session is of Osce, 200 marks, and afternoon sessions, 2 clinical cases could be simulated, real or volunteer, plus Viva Voce marks. I'll tell you later what are these Viva Voce marks. And there are 4 examiners at one center appointed by NB. So what is the infrastructure available at examination center? Examination hall is there to have just 12 candidates. And they are seated with a physical distance of 1 meter at least. And there's good Wi-Fi connection with power backup. And there are 3-4 laptops with HD webcams for monitoring and video conferencing. So you are being watched constantly, and there is a projector or a big LED screen or a TV for display of Osce stations or questions. So it will be a big hall. You will be sitting like your exam, but you will not have hard copy of the paper. You will read questions on the screen and answer on the sheet, which will be given after each question. You see, after each station, let me put it as. So after every 5 minutes, the sheet will be taken from you and new sheet will be given to you. And there's one scanner kept in each center for scanning of answer sheets after completion of OSCE. So the examination center is supposed to scan all the students' answer sheets continuously and send it to TNB. Center provides N95 masks, gloves, face shields, PPE kits if required. So what are the instructions for candidates? These are usual for all the candidates. No mobiles, no electronic gadgets, books, bags. You are not allowed to leave the hall till examination is over. And respect the dignity and modesty of patients if you are getting real patients. Don't compromise on patient safety and comfort. Observe hygiene protocols specifically and hygiene. And if you have a real patient, discuss about the prognosis and management out of the audible range of patients, a little away from the patient. So there are a few tips and tricks when you are attempting OSCE. I'll give you a few examples. Write neatly and legibly. It is true for all exams, even your theory exams. Easy readability, proper spacing should be there. There is only one page for one station. So you have limited space. Remember, good presentation is a skill. And this is what differentiates a topper from a mediocre student. Time management is extremely important in OSCE. Write what is asked from you. For that, you must read the question carefully and focus on the specific aspects asked. Don't start writing trials and theories and classifications. Read carefully and write. Many times our handwriting is not good and we are not able to convey effectively to the examiner. I know you can't change your handwritings at this time, but try to make legible writing. And many of us feel that writing more will fetch more marks, but this is not true. The examiner actually looks for key points in your answer, and space is limited in OSCE. So be very, very careful. Highlight or underline points. You may draw flow diagrams. What is the pattern of this OSCE? Most of the time, this is what you will get. Clinical cases, case scenarios. Maybe you get some operative procedure. You are shown a video. You may be shown a mammogram or a barium swallow. A CT scan of chest, abdomen, pelvis, any place. MRI of maybe head and neck or some other area. A PET scan film with a clinical scenario. And the OSCE may also include some basics oncology, some complications, some emergencies. So a case scenario again will be given to you as workstation. Then you may have some clinical photograph. In the afternoon session, you will have specimen for 10 marks, instruments for 10 marks, the latest developments and allied specialties, 10 marks, and I think the operative procedures. As you have all the exams, even your MS exam, the same pattern. And 60 marks will be for 2 clinical cases, which could be simulated patient, real patient, a volunteer, or even a case scenario given to you. I'll show you all. Just few examples. So you may get like this, a 60-year lady, hypertensive, diabetic, presented in emergency. I have highlighted this theme. This is what needs to be focused. Now read this carefully. Exacerbation of breathlessness, cough and facial swelling and breathless. 60-year lady. There is a jugular venous distension and prominent veins on neck and upper chest. Upper chest, prominent veins, venous distension. Think of the diagnosis. So the working station is, as I showed you, the first question may be shown to you on the TV screen like this. Describe the relevant CT chest finding. Okay. Now you are supposed to write. You can see what is there on this CT film. Don't start writing that this is a CT film, contrast enhanced, this is showing like this. You will waste your time. Because remember, the marks are written here. 2 marks. And even the person who checks your paper or the examiner who frames it is supposed to give answers to the NB. So even the answers are standardized. Okay. What I am showing you are just examples only. Don't take it that this is the NB paper. These are just examples. Okay. So now what is this showing? This is showing a central mass at the level of carina with heterogeneous enhancement. There is widening of superior mediastinum, right pleural effusion, and SVC was compressed. And can you see these dots, multiple dots? Even in the axilla, even in the chest, you can see the multiple dots. These are venous collaterals due to compression of SVC. So the next question will appear, what is the most probable diagnosis? So everything will be based on your working station, and marks are written at the end. So you know this is 1 mark and you will get less time, you have got less space, and don't write story. So the person is asking you, what is the most probable diagnosis? So don't try to justify the diagnosis and give details of what you saw. So this is actually SVC obstruction with right pleural effusion, and differential diagnosis could be bronchogenic carcinoma or a lymphoma. Okay, that is what is expected in 1 mark. Next question could be, what are the possible causes associated with this condition? Mind you, this is 2 marks only. 2 marks. The total station will be 8 marks. You will be given 5 marks, 5 minutes for each station. So what are the possible causes associated with this SVC obstruction? You can classify malignant, benign. Malignant is lung cancer. If you have time, you can write down small cell lung cancer, squamous cell carcinoma. If you don't have time, write lung cancer, lymphoma, germ cell tumor, thymoma, and benign tubercular, central venous catheters, ports, pacemakers, histoplasmosis rarely. Means you have to be very, very precise. Don't write story. Will you confirm the diagnosis? Mind you, this is only 1 mark question. I have given various options because this is expected from the examiner. So NB wants the examiner to give various options of answers. And if any one of them or 2 of them are found, he has to give marks to the candidate. If anything is out of this, he doesn't get any mark. So supraclavicular node FNAC, you might write. EBUS guided FNAC, CT guided needle biopsy, thoracocentesis, cytology, mediastinoscopy. Management of severe form of this condition, this is also 2 marks. Severe form of SVC obstruction. So non-specific steroids, diuretics, oxygen, even your posture, head and elevated. Radiation, depending on the cause, if you can find the cause. Disease-specific treatment, chemotherapy. If you know if it is germ cell tumor, but don't write the chemotherapy protocols. You write the chemotherapy depending on diagnosis. And mostly unresectable. So you have covered radiation, chemotherapy, surgery, everything. And mainly the treatment is palliative. radiation, chemotherapy, and even SVC stenting. So you don't expect all, but majority of points, if you are covering, you get full marks. So that is why OSCE is objective. So I am giving you second case scenario. A 35-year man with large central abdominal mass, hepatosplenomegaly, was diagnosed as a case of high-grade lymphoma. Whatever I have written as green needs attention. Okay. So it is a high-grade lymphoma in a 35-year man presenting a central abdominal lump. On evaluation, his TLC was 18,300, sodium was 140, serum potassium 4.5, creat borderline raised, uric acid 6.5, calcium was 9, LDH was twice the norm. So he was given chemotherapy for high-grade lymphoma along with high dose of steroids, normal. So high-grade lymphoma, given chemotherapy, but patient developed nausea, vomiting, altered sensorium, oliguria, electrolyte imbalance, and cardiac arrhythmias, and died. So high-grade lymphoma, analyze in your mind. High-grade lymphoma, got chemotherapy, died within 2 days. So the first question asked to you is, what is the likely cause of death? And mind you, this question is 1 mark only. Okay, so you need to be very precise in this. Because here the answer should be tumor lysis syndrome in a high-grade lymphoma. Okay, don't start justifying and write stories. Not more than this line. Name the metabolic abnormalities associated with this condition. So now you have made up your mind that it is tumor lysis syndrome. So what are the metabolic abnormalities in tumor lysis syndrome? This is 2 marks. What is expected from you is mainly these 4 things: hyperuricemia, hyperkalemia, hyperphosphatemia, hypocalcemia. So you see how objective it is. You get full marks if you write these 4 words. So 25% change from baseline in 2 or more of these electrolytes up to 7 days from treatment. This is Caro Bishop lab definition. That stands for tumor lysis syndrome. Next question will come. What are the common causes of this condition? 2 marks question. So any tumor where lysis can occur very rapidly. So where there is high tumor burden, like ALL, AML, high-grade lymphomas, especially Burkitt, small cell lung cancer, testicular tumors, even it is described in breast cancer. Will you manage this condition? Mind you, this is 3 marks. Okay, you will get more time depending on the expected material which a candidate is supposed to write. So, but one station is 5 minutes and paper will be taken away from you after 5 minutes. So prevention and treatment. Prevention is hydration, urine alkalization 1 day before CT. Treatment is treat hyperkalemia, raise phosphates, allopurinol, diuretics, dialysis. Depending on how much you write, you get. We don't want any details. I'm repeating in each question. So, giving you the third case scenario, a 50-year lady presented in OPD with Cushing-Coed features and hyperpigmentation of face and chest. She has been a heavy smoker. Clinical examination does not reveal any other abnormality. CT chest shows 2 centimeter irregularly shaped right upper lobe mass with mediastinal node. Now you see there are 3 things in this. Cushing-Coed features in a 50-year lady, hyperpigmentation of face and chest, and CT chest shows right upper lobe mass. Okay. Now, what is being asked from NB? The most likely diagnosis. If somebody is saying that chest mass with Cushingoid feature, something should come in your mind immediately. That is paraneoplastic syndrome. What you are supposed to write is small cell lung cancer with paraneoplastic syndrome. Even if you write paraneoplastic syndrome with lung cancer or question mark lung cancer, it is accepted and you get full marks. So enumerate commonly involved systems in paraneoplastic syndrome. You see, nobody is asking you to describe paraneoplastic syndrome. Mind you, that is why I am saying that read carefully. They are saying what are the systems involved in paraneoplastic syndrome, and this is of 2 marks. So what you should write: neurologic, endocrine, hematologic, dermatologic, and rheumatologic. If you write this, you get 2 marks. If you write even 4 of these 5, you get 2 marks. Okay. Next question: which other malignancies can cause paraneoplastic syndrome? This is just 1 mark question. Small cell, non-small cell, lymphoproliferative disorders, thymoma, breast cancer. Next question is mechanism of paraneoplastic syndrome. This is of 2 marks. Ectopic production of hormone, peptides, cytokines, immune cross response between malignant and normal tissue. If you answer these 2 like this, you get full marks. Even if you write ectopic production of this, you get 1 mark. Enumerate the treatment options of paraneoplastic syndrome. This is of 2 marks. And treatment of underlying tumor, IV immunoglobulins, steroids, immunosuppressants, plasma exchange, rituximab. Even if you write here maybe 2 things, you get full mark. This is next case scenario. You may be given a direct question. Hey, I am giving a question like, what is cancer cachexia syndrome? This is of 3 marks. Out of 8, this is 3. So you may write your definition, whatever you remember. It is a complex metabolic syndrome including anorexia and cachexia. Then you can tell what is anorexia, what is cachexia. So anorexia contributes to cachexia, and cachexia can independently be from. Means you can define anorexia, cachexia, and just say it is a complex metabolic syndrome include. So first point, second point, and third point, you get full marks. So what are the clinical and lab features of cancer cachexia syndrome? Mind you, this is of 3 marks. Clinical features are there, and there are lab features. Lab features say microcytic anemia, no albumin, skin test energy, and raised CR. And clinical features are anorexia, poor intake, weight loss, weakness, fatigue, myalgia, poor quality of life, poor tolerance to treatment. I don't expect you to write everything, but justify your 3 marks. Which cancers are associated with cancer cachexia syndrome? This is 2 marks. Pancreas, stomach, esophagus, head and neck, colorectal, lung, prostate, ovary. Do not write details, please. So this was about the Osce, few examples I had given. And now I'll be presenting a clinical case scenario, which may run like this. 50-year-old man, salesperson by profession. This is in the afternoon session. If you have the real case, fine. You may not get a dummy there. Then this will be presented on the screen itself, but from the examination center, not from NV side. So it will be like this. You will be shown a slide, 50-year man, salesperson by profession with no comorbidities, tobacco chewer, heavy smoker, presented with non-healing ulcer on right side down. Okay. Here, important is salesperson. You will be surprised. I'll tell you why I'm saying salesperson is important. His profession is important. He has developed CA tongue, and he is a heavy smoker. and presented with non-healing ulcer. Okay. Now you see this, and the examiner at the examination center he'll be there. All your 4 examiners will be there. They'll ask you, describe relevant clinical findings. And this is the patient. Now you may just jump on this, that a non-healing ulcer on right lateral border tongue, and stop there. No. What is expected from you is he is able to open his mouth completely. He doesn't have SMF. Or if you're not able to say that I would like to see for SMF. So no trismus, no SMF, complete dentition not appreciable due to not appreciable, although there is impression of teeth on tongue, it can be seen. You can see the impression of teeth. Okay, on the tongue. No ankyloglossia. 2 centimeter ulcerated lesion on right lateral border tongue. You can say 1.5 centimeter, whatever. In mid portion of tongue, door of mouth seems free. Base of tongue and midline tongue cannot be commented. You are not able to see the neck. Okay, so this should be your clinical finding. If the examiner, the local examiner from the examiner center shows you this picture, okay, he'll then say that what is your clinical diagnosis? Your answer should be most probable diagnosis is carcinoma right lateral border tongue, a non-healing ulcer, dental ulcer of tongue. Okay, dental impression. You can see the dental impression along the lateral ridge. Next question he might throw. Usually these are just 7-8 questions, and although he's prepared with 10 questions from you right from the clinical examination till the management, but depends how quickly and how correctly you answer the questions. If you are able to answer all questions, whatever he has framed in the screen, you get full marks. Okay, so that is why it is objective assessment. Patient also has one submandibular node and a jugulodigest node, each measuring 2 centimeter in size. What is the clinical TNM? Sorry. So this is T1, N2B, MX, stage 4A. How will you proceed? Of course, you will do an incisional biopsy, assessment of local extent of disease. People may say they will do CT scan, but this is what I do, MRI. Why I do? The reasons, I think you can just go through the books. CT chest. Here I am saying CT chest because he has been a chain smoker. If it is operable, resectable, I'll do the PACS. Biopsy is reported to be moderately differentiated squamous cell carcinoma. Imaging reveals 2 centimeter into 1.8 into 0.9 centimeter lesion in right lateral border tongue, not reaching midline, extrinsic muscles free, level 1 and 2B nodes necrotic, 2 centimeter each. How will you treat? Okay. So that is how the examiner will put questions. See the beauty of this Osce and these questions on simulated patients or on screen. Same question is being put up to 12 candidates, same way, and same is expected. So you will do pre-op assessment, surgery, you will counsel for surgery, you will take consent, and you will do partial glossectomy with right modified midsection, plus minus reconstruction. Why you are talking of reconstruction? Because he's a salesperson. Speech is very important. He wants the correct speech. So this man might need a reconstruction also. Post-op adjuvant treatment depending on the final histology report. How will you reconstruct a tongue defect? Closure, local mucomuscular flap, nasolabial flap, free flap, if you have the facilities. Most likely in this case, primary closure should be possible. But these are the various ways. What functional deficit you expect from dissection of different parts of tongue? This is a general question. If you resect the tip of tongue, anterior defect, speech gets affected. If the posterior defect is there is swallowing problem. If the mid defect is there, patient has tendency to sip frequently or suck. He'll do like this. But if you reconstruct, even this problem does not arise. So how important is to know the profession of a person and tell him, counsel him what is the functional deficit he will develop from this section. So what relevant parameters you expect from the pathologist to be included in the pathology report? Want to know the histological types, the grade of tumor, depth of invasion, margins, LVI, PNI, worst pattern of invasion, nodes, number of nodes, level of nodes, size of metastasis, and ENE if it is present or not. Histopathology report comes as MDSCC, all margins free, nearest is 6 mm, depth of invasion 19 mm, LVI absent, PNI present, worst pattern of invasion 4, 2 out of 23 nodes positive, ENE more than 2 mm, and what is the pathological? You see, you had said, I think T1 clinical, and now the pathological becomes T3 because the depth of invasion is 90 mm. N3T, ENE more than 2 mm. So this gets upstaged. How will you manage post-operatively? You know it, chemoradiation. What are the side effects of cisplatin? That is how the examiner will go. So I'm just giving you example. This is not sacrosanct that this will be asked, but that is how the questions are framed and kept in the exam. Side effects of cisplatin. Patient develops satellite nodules in neck 3 months after completion of radiation. What will you do? You will biopsy the nodule for histology and PDL1 and do a PET scan to see metastatic deposits anywhere else in the body. Biopsy of nodule is recurrent SCC, PDL1 positive, CPS score more than 10. PET scan metabolically avid area in multiple bones and upper lobe lung. What will you do? I give chemotherapy, immunotherapy, and maybe palliative chemotherapy. So these things should be there in your mind. What is the prognosis in this case? You should know. Prognosis is poor. People hardly cross 1 year. Nivolumab has been, it gives a survival advantage than with other chemotherapy. What could be the cause of death in this case? It could be progressive disease, cancer, cachexia, oral bleed. I think I have 5 minutes. I'll just finish off the last case also. Dr. Dev, can I?
Please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, just 5-7 minutes more and I'll finish.
Sure, sir. Sure.
So you may get clinical case scenario or maybe a photograph or maybe operative video. A 45-year man with no comorbidities presented with yellowish discoloration of eyes for 1 month. Patient has low-grade fever with pruritus, no abdominal pain or vomiting. On examination, jaundice is present, no ascites, smooth hepatomegaly, gallbladder lump palpable. Baseline test, hemoglobin 11, TLC is raised, bilirubin is 9, ALP is raised, SGOT, SGPT are raised, and prothrombin time INR is 1.2. So this is in brief the clinical scenario which has been given. I am saying somebody might show you laparotomy photograph. Somebody might show you the operative video of ripples. So be prepared that clinical scenario, even this could appear in Osce also. What is your clinical diagnosis? The best clinical picture. Obstructive jaundice with cholangitis with periampullary carcinoma. I've just put a question mark here. What is the first screening test? If it is OSCE, be very, very please. Very, very please. Ultrasound abdomen. Ultrasound reveals moderate dilatation of intrahepatically. So that is how they'll give you the ultrasound findings. They'll say how will you investigate further. You will do triple phase CT scan, side viewing endoscopy, biopsy of ampullary growth, ERCP stenting, plus minus. You can justify you will do or you will not do. They might show you a CT scan finding, CT scan film. This could be as a standalone station for OSCE also. Interpret CT scan up down. Okay, so you have to just describe whatever you can see, and whether to put a stent or not pre-operatively in this case, justify that if you say yes. And the other indications could be bilirubin more than 20 milligram, poor performance status, poor nutritional status, or new adjuvant treatment has been planned. Plastic stent has been placed, biopsy is moderately differentiated adenocarcinoma. How will you proceed further? So, PET scan has got any role or not? PET scan has got no role except for a good CT scan. So what is the treatment plan? You will do pre-op investigations for fitness, pre-op preparation, consent, and surgery. So what is the pre-op preparation? So be prepared to answer that. And what surgery will you perform? We don't expect you to write diagrams, make diagrams here, but you should know what is the type of surgery, what are the options here. What is the significance of anatomical anomaly replaced right hepatic artery? This anomaly was there in this case. So, which anastomosis is better, PG or PJ? And enumerate post-op complications of Whipple's. How will you manage pancreatic fistula depending on the grade? And histopathology report is adenocarcinoma ampulla, ET2N1 intestinal type. What is the adjuvant treatment? No role for radiation. It is possible. So that was the last slide. I can only say good luck for OSCE, and I can assure you it is difficult to fail in OSCE. What is required is your presence of mind, and most important is read carefully what is expected from you and write briefly. That is the tip. And I'm repeating, it is difficult to fail an exam of OSCE. Thank you. Dr. Dev, you wanted to?
Yes, sir. Yes. Ms. Navneet, can you see my slides?
Yeah, there we can see. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So I think, thank you, Dr. Deewan. It was an excellent presentation. You have already made my job easy and you have covered most of the aspects. What I would like to emphasize is I think most of the DNB students, OSCE is going to be new. So the first batch we have done exam last time. So I request all of you to be very, very careful and listen to the instructions. And there may be some repetition in what I speak again, which Dr. Deewan has said, but these are very, very important because these are the things which are going to make or break your success in the practical examinations. So it is, I think Dr. Deewan has already told, the beauty of the OSCE is it's objective, it is structured, it's assessment of technical skills in a standard fashion. So what happens is here the scoring procedures are standardized. There is no bias of examiner. There is no bias. There is no mood swings of the examiner. So there's a lot of gray areas in the normal standard conventional examination are not there in OSCE. So each examination station is designed to focus on a specific area, as Dr. Deewan has said. a standardized scoring tool is already devised. So there are specific marks for each question. So there will not be any deviation in that. So every OSCE candidate experiences the same problem all over India and is asked to perform the same task. So the assessment is uniform in the same time frame, and you will be exposed to the same level of difficulty. So that is the beauty of OSCE. The tasks in each OSCE station represent real life clinical situations. Because this is a practical exam, always remember, we are not checking your theory knowledge. We want to check, you are doing surgical oncology. So we want to see, once you pass out, what are your practical abilities, decision-making abilities, and how you can take a decision. That's what the examiner wants to know. Not the theory, the rut sort of a pattern, like branches of a facial artery or indications for breast conservations. It's not like that. In a given situation, how best you can take a decision, that is what the examiner is going to test. Just remember that. It is not theory, but your practical skills in the given time frame. The tasks in each OSCE station represent real-life clinical situations and your ability to apply clinical knowledge and skills. It enables a reliable assessment of candidates' competence. What we are looking at, competence, not knowledge. Just remember, knowledge is assessed in theory examinations. In OSCEs, what we are assessing is your competence. So it assesses competency based on objective testing through direct observation. It is precise, objective, and unlike traditional examination, OSCE could evaluate areas most critical to performance of healthcare professionals and communication skills. That is another area, because right now we are doing virtual OSCEs. Once the pandemic is over, we may move to the physical OSCEs. In the physical OSCEs, you may be given a standardized patient, okay, with a simulated sort of a clinical picture. We also observe how you communicate with the patient. So this is the marking pattern Dr. Deewan has already highlighted. Just remember, you can score the maximum in OSCE. There are 25 stations, 8 marks each, 5 minutes of each station. This is very, very important. You will be having only 5 minutes per station. So you have to keep in mind the timing of each station. Okay. So once 5 minutes is over, you are supposed to move to the next station. There are 25 stations. Each station has got 8 marks. So total 200 marks of practicals will be there for in the OSCE, 200 out of 300. So remember, it is very easy to score if you are smart and if you understand the mechanism of OSCEs. So advantages of OSCE, there's a uniform scenarios, easy availability, it is safe, no risk of litigation, feedback we can take, we keep modifying, it allows for recall, stations can be tailored according to the skills needs to be assessed, allows for teaching audit, allows for demonstration of emergency skills. Disadvantages, there are not many, but we need to prepare. Mentally, you need to prepare because you are not used to this kind of examination system. That is why we have introduced, I thank Som for putting this lecture. So any pattern change in the examination, you need to mentally prepare for it. Otherwise, you may get suddenly if you see a change in the practical modality of examination, even though you know the issue, but you may not be able to come out with the right answers. The preparation of the exam, it is a big challenge to examiners also to structure these questions. Last year, we have spent, me and Dr. Deewan, almost hours and hours designing these questions. Of course, we got all the OSCEs from national faculty, but designing this question is the biggest challenge. So we have to be very, very clear, precise, including the marks. So there is a lot of preparation goes on at the examination level, examiner level, as well as student level. That is why this lecture is scheduled today, just to prepare you for the OSCEs. It comprises of several stations. As we have already told you, 25 stations, you keep moving. I will just give some examples how these stations are designed. Suppose you have a station 1, can be focusing on cancer epidemiology. Maybe we'll show you some graphs or some data or something related to cancer epidemiology or screening. So you are supposed to answer those questions. Then you can move to a second station, which may be a role of cancer staging. So here we may be having some information or questions related to examination, biomarkers, imaging, endoscopies. So for example, you have a station on imaging. So you can have some different types of imaging modalities here. And you will be given a clinical situation and asked to, it may vary. We may just ask what kind of imaging you would like to do, or we may also show you an imaging and ask you to pick up the findings. Suppose you have a pathology station, you may have certain issues related to the tumor grossing. How do you do the specimen orientation? So there may be a question related to the practical issues the surgical oncologist is supposed to know. How to handle the specimen, how to orient the specimen, how to do a lymph node harvest by the surgeon. So there may be some practical questions in pathology station. Similarly, these are few examples I am giving because these keep on changing. All right. So biostatistics station can have a sort of a forest plot, a Kaplan-Meier survival curve. So you need to interpret the data, and you have to tell us, just read the question carefully what has been asked, and you should answer specifically to that question. So here you cannot deviate. Unlike essay questions, short questions, you can write whatever you want, but here you have to be very precise. If you deviate, you will lose marks. Similarly, you can have case capsules related to different tumor areas like soft tissues, head and neck cancer. You can have clinical scenarios. So these are various examples I'm showing you here. Biostatistics, video. We can have a video of the surgical anatomy or operative procedure, clinical scenarios, instruments. You can have various instruments, devices, energy devices, staplers, surgical anatomy, and clinical scenarios, multimodality management. You can have different kinds, the entire oncology spectrum where you need to display your practical skills can be utilized in the Osce stations. And we also have communication and counseling stations where we would like to see how you would like to break a bad news, how you would like to handle a patient with emergency and communication skills. There may be stations related to these also. What are the types of tasks you may need to perform during Osce? It can be just taking a history, conducting a physical examination, managing a patient problem, assessing and managing an emergency, counseling, answering oral or written questions, interpreting investigations, interpreting data. This is exactly what you are supposed to do once you pass out and go back and start practicing the practical skills. So that is what we would like to see in the candidate, whether you are competent to perform these basic tasks in the field of surgical oncology, including demonstrating clinical skills. And of course, we cannot have a practical surgical procedures, so we show some videos and pictures. So tips and tricks, Dr. Deewan has nicely highlighted a lot of examples. These are last 2-3 slides. So do carefully read and listen and follow the instruction. This is the most common mistake. Now we are seeing the listening skills of everybody, not only DNB students, are going down. Everybody wants to speak or read. But first listen, carefully read instructions. These are extremely important in Osce. Questions you have to, they are very, very specific, very specific. There are no assumptions and presumptions. So take little while to read the question, then only answer. Don't start answering, then go back to the questions. This is the common mistakes. You are in a hurry in the current sort of lifestyles with so many gadgets, multitasking. You are likely to commit mistakes. So my advice is to just cool down, read the question carefully, understand the station, why it is created. Answering is the last step. Okay, don't start writing answers as soon as you enter the station. Listen to and follow the instructions from the site staff. Okay, so they will give you some instructions regarding how to follow the stations and how to take rest and how to assess. So listen to them. Take a mental note of signal system, track layout, how the track is laid out, and the timing also. And carefully read and follow the instructions provided outside each station. So do not be tempted to do more than what station instructions. Don't overdo. All right, you will not get extra marks. So just give specific answers to the question. Don't try to display your entire knowledge, theoretical knowledge in the Osce stations. Okay, so don't be tempted to do more than what the station instructions require. Do not make assumptions about the purpose of the stations. मैंने ऐसा सोचा, I thought it is because of this. Everything is specific. Just read carefully, understand and answer. Don't make assumptions and presumptions. Do manage your time well. You have 8 minutes, so spend 3 to 4 minutes in understanding the station, the question, and the content which is given. Answers can be given in last 2 to 3 minutes. So don't just start writing answers. There is no back and forth. So that is why you have to be very careful. Then there are segments in each question. So each OSCE session can have maybe one question or two questions or three questions. So you have to be careful. Do communicate with the patient well if it is a physical OSCE. Okay. So these are the various examples. I think Dr. Deewan has already highlighted number of case scenarios. So I will not go into the details of this. So these are few practical tips. You need to practice this OSCE system. You have to get into your mind how to. Preparation is very important when you go for practicals. Mentally, you have to be tuned. These are the kind of questions I'm likely to get, and these are the kind of response I'm likely to give. The mental preparation for the OSCE is extremely important. You should be conditioned to this kind of examination. Otherwise, you just walk in with a lot of knowledge, but you will not be able to score well in OSCE. Okay, so just get hang of what is OSCE, how we should prepare, and be ready for the exam. So these are a few practical tips I wanted to convey. So with that, Som, I would like to conclude my talk so we can take some question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Deewan sir and Dr. Dev. You know, it is extremely difficult topic to cover, but students actually underestimate the importance of this. It's very, very important. See, remember, going forward, surgical onco will never be practical alone. Dr. Deewan sir knows, Dev knows, I know. It is going to be, even post-COVID, there will be a component of OSCE which will be introduced. And those OSCEs are tough because it will be physical OSCE which is going to happen there. It's very important to understand physical OSCE. Now, when DNB board sends an instruction to all of us as an examiner to set up OSCE, remember it's very difficult to fail OSCE if you have worked well for 3 years. If you walk into a station, as Dr. Dev told, try to concentrate on the instruction. You may know many things about that station, but that is not what is asked. Most of the candidates underperform in station because of hurry, impatience, not looking at the instruction, and trying to overdo. You know, there is a way, the way the instruction all of us have received from DNB board, when OSCEs are set up, they're set up under 3 categories. Average, which everybody can answer, and there are high priority and difficult one where you can distinguish a very, very intelligent who won distinction gold medal than this. So you don't try to overperform. The questions himself are placed by examiner to distinguish those two. That's very important. Second thing, for every question an examiner sets, there is a key answer given by them, which means we all know what is the minimum basic answer to be given, and if you don't fulfill those, it's not possible. Suppose you walk into an OSCE, you don't know what to do, just think that day-to-day 3-year working in clinics, what is how you would have managed an institution. Majority of the time, you will clear it. So it's very well covered by Deewan sir and Dev. You know, there are pearls of gems coming from very, very senior, experienced teachers, examiners, and take everything to the face value. Thank you very much, and I hand over to Dev and Deewan. And as I see, since this is not a single topic, very difficult to ask question and answer. Maybe in due course we'll try to cover more as the things become clear. So is that okay, Dev sir and Deewan sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So, and I really thank our DNB NBE webinar host and the DNB and Navneet Singh ji for relentlessly supporting us and beautiful seamless audio visual. Thank you very much, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Deewan, Professor Dev, for the presentation, and thank you very much, Professor Somashekhar, for joining. And thank you, trainees, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm surprised there are no questions.
I think this is the first time.
The box is empty.
No, this is the first time for the OSCEs for the students.
They are all wonderstruck. You know, more
Yes.
than 330 students are there.
330
Basically,
students.
The candidates doesn't know what to ask in this.
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm
It's not that because there are a lot of them are very active, but the only issue is because it's not a single topic. They're wonderstruck what to ask. And most of the common question is what are the type of exam they're going to have. Is it hybrid? Is it OSCE alone? Or is it entirely practical? But take my word, all exam from today, even during COVID, post-COVID, will have an OSCE component in future.
Yes.
Yeah. I think so we should also maybe repeat this every 6 months.
I'm thinking the same.
Yeah.
And to the benefit of the students, until their exams are over, which will be somewhere around August 15th, plus or minus, next 2 sessions we are concentrating on head and neck, case presentation and practical tips. And then we are going to run a practical instrument station exclusively, which will help. So we will try to cover the practical aspects until the practical exam for final year is over. Then we revert back to the same format. And as Dave told, we will repeat this particular OSCE talk every 6 months. So sort of, it improves.
Yeah. Because it
Thank
is
you very
almost
much,
200 marks for the OSCE. So every student should be, I think, trained in OSCE.
Absolutely. In the last specialty, surgical specialty board meeting, Dr. Dev was also there with us. Even post-COVID, some component of OSCE is going to come. So there is no escaping this. And those OSCE will be much tough than now because it is going to be truly integrated like you have in FRCS system. So, and examiners are there, patients are there, and so you need to perform well. So it's going to be integrated permanently.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Navneet. Thank you, Dr. Deewan.
So, Navneet, bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Actually, BRC colony.